Welcome to Sivako, the road to Avatar. I am Shaun Alexander, and I will be your guide to the world of Pandora and beyond. And today I have a couple of special guests with me. So, special guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Patrick.
I'm Taylor.
We are the co-hosts of two podcasts. One is the Vince Vaughn-a-thon, where we watch every single Vince Vaughn movie, and the other is Y2Kids, where we talk about some shows, movies, snacks, games, and stuff from our childhood. And we're very excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you guys get to come on and we get to talk about something special for all of us, I imagine.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
So, as I do with all my guests, I ask a few little Avatar questions. The first of which is for both of you, I want to check, have you both seen Avatar?
Yes.
Yes.
So, when did you first see the film?
I first saw it when it originally came out, when it played in its original run. And I also want to say that I saw it in the 3D re-release, because I believe here in the States that was a separate run. But alas, those were the pre-letterbox days, so I can't check. But I think that I did.
I had a very interesting first time seeing Avatar. I saw it over about 3 weeks in 8th grade because we were wrapping up the school year, and my teacher thought, what movie can keep them entertained in an hour chunk forever? And it was that movie. I swear to God, like, our bits and pieces that we watched it took, like, weeks, or at least it felt like it. So I watched it on a, like, literal, like, screen projection in my 8th grade English classroom.
I'm sure that's exactly how James Cameron envisioned
Of course, yeah.
Avatar to be seen.
Yeah, I'm sure with the lights on and people reading, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that wouldn't piss him off at all.
No.
Yeah, he's quite particular about these things, isn't he? So I can only imagine his reaction if he heard about
That
it.
is
I
something I
know.
didn't even think about.
Yeah, if
that.
James Cameron ever listens to this episode, he's gonna be like, you need to come watch it. Like, I'll build you a movie theater to come watch it in the James Cameron way.
So you guys, have you got a favorite moment for the film?
So I must confess that we were going to rewatch it for our appearance on your show, but we were just so tempted by the IMAX re-release next week that we wanted to wait for that instead. Yeah, although there are some bits and pieces like in my head, I feel like I can't give you an honest answer because it was like 10 years ago. I'll give you one in a couple weeks. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I feel
Awesome.
like for me, it's honestly just like the beginning moments of just like taking Pandora in. Avatar is so, I don't want, trend setting is the right word, revolutionary, I guess, in the world of CG, and I don't always love incredibly CG films, but I do respect films that really just like run with it and like commit to the CG. And that is a film that I was like totally transfixed with, even on my shitty projector screen, of just being like, holy crap, like I'm literally transported into another world right now. There are so many movies that just kind of plop things in here and there, and some things fall short and whatever, and I just really like respected the commitment to Pandora. So I think just like, yeah, the moments of letting Pandora settle in.
Awesome. And it is interesting, obviously, with the re-release coming out. I feel like a lot of people are like holding off on watching it again
Yeah.
because they want to see it in the supposed like the way you're meant to see it.
We have like the 4-disc special edition Blu-rays. It's this crazy big set, which is what I thought about digging into. But I was like, no, like it's a movie theater movie. Let's just wait.
Yeah, it's been on like our rewatch list. I mean, for years, like as long as I've known Patrick, like, yeah, we should watch this soon. We should watch this soon. And I'm honestly like glad now that we've waited because it's going to be awesome in IMAX. I'm so excited.
I also don't know if I ever actually thought Avatar 2 was going to come out.
Oh, you're not alone there, mate. It feels like everyone. There's been Avatar fans who have literally counted down from like 1,000 days waiting for a new one. It's gone back over 1,000 days with delays and then
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so I felt like, I don't know, like if I watch it now, who knows? The next one might not even come out for 7 more years or something, So Yeah, we've just been holding off, but now's the time.
We were one of the like few people who would go to the movie theaters, not obviously in like lockdown, they weren't open, but like when movie theaters started opening up, we like found this loophole in the system of like we were quite literally the only people going to the movies. So it was really safe because it was just me and Patrick in the movie theater. And that was like the way that we saw so many films that we had never seen on the big screen, like on the big screen, Harry Potter films, Jurassic Park a zillion times, all of those re-releases. And Avatar was one I always expected to kind of come back, and now it all makes sense why it didn't.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to help build up to that hype for the new one, which
Yes.
leads me on to the next question, which is: are you guys excited for The Way of Water?
I am. I'm very excited. I just, CG has come so much farther since Avatar and it was revolutionary then, so I just can't, wait to see what it's like now.
Yeah, I feel like I just like big ass movies, you
Yeah,
know?
me
Like I just
too.
like big IMAX like what's the
Cinema experience.
Dolby Atmos cinema
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
Like I just like getting blasted out by the sound and stuff and this is just going to be one of those movies and so that like that alone makes me interested and then obviously there's like the whole like cultural conversation about it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome! So good to hear as well. Like obviously with the re-release and then the build up from that into The Way of Water as well. It's kind of exciting time to sort of be getting back into it in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this leads us nicely onto our topic, which is actually we're gonna take a big old step back in time, way before Avatar, before James Cameron was dreaming of Avatar and blew people in his sleep, all the way back to the 80s to talk about one of his. It's some. This is the thing. James Cameron doesn't have any bad films, so everyone has a different favorite James Cameron film.
Right.
But I would say some people would argue this is one of his greatest, which is The Terminator. So I want to ask you guys first: is where would you rank The Terminator as a James Cameron film?
Oh wow. I personally have a big blind spot, which is Titanic, which I know is very controversial to say. I know.
Shocking.
I figured I should watch it the way you're supposed to watch it, which is on one of those two tape VHS sets. And I haven't gotten the ability to do it yet. So, with that aside, um, I can't count that one. However, Terminator, I would still say is my favorite James Cameron movie. Um, I know, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. I know that a lot of people prefer Terminator 2, T2. And I'm not on that train. I like T2. I like it just fine, but I am such a big fan of the original Terminator and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come on here and talk about it with you because I just like wanted to geek out over it for a little while. So yeah, we're talking about my favorite James Cameron movie right now.
I think if I had to say, I honestly probably Avatar. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen it in so long, so it's hard for me to say. But I just feel like, I don't know. I respect that. We talked about this on an episode where we were talking about like movie 43, which is objectively, people say the worst movie ever. I just respect people who like go the hell for it. Like, you gain so much of my respect if you just like lean into something totally that people kind of like walk around, and for like Avatar that was CG. So I just feel like I don't know. I think that that's probably it for me.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. I think that anytime a filmmaker actually fully commits to like doing something with a film,
For
I
better
don't
or for
really
worse.
care if it's yeah, that's it. It could be the worst idea I've ever seen. At least you tried something,
Yeah, like objectively movie 43 is horrible, but at the same time like at least they just went for it. Like
and they
just
did not
mad
stop.
props. Yeah, kudos.
So it's interesting as well. Like I feel like James Cameron's one of those filmmakers that doesn't ever like hold back. He is constantly like trying to push it and push his films to be quite innovative, or they're trying to be big spectacle. And Terminator is such an interesting one because obviously he was doing this at a time he didn't have the budget to do the big blockbusters he's known for.
Right.
So he's doing like a big blockbuster on a tiny indie budget.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I like so much about this film, the original Terminator, is like having to be um, restricted in how they tell the story of the future and Skynet and all that kind of stuff. Like, you only get like a grand total of like 3 minutes of the future in the original Terminator because it was probably so expensive to film those parts. It's a lot easier to do the quote unquote modern day stuff, you know. Um, and I feel almost the opposite. I like the limitations. Like, I like when they're forced to sort of take these huge ideas and fit them into those tiny budgets. And that's one of the things I like the most about this movie is like there's nothing that they don't hit on. There's nothing that they don't pull off while like clearly being limited by like their resources.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting way to look at it. It almost reminds me of like the whole Jaws situation of there just isn't the budget to show the shark and the fact that Jaws the shark was broken the whole time.
Yeah, so it's funny
Yeah.
you say this because I just saw Jaws. Well, we just saw Jaws in theaters yesterday, last night, as we're recording this. I had seen Jaws as like a kid. I remember my mom asking me like what felt like 100 different times. Have you ever seen Jaws? Let's go ahead and sit down and watch Jaws. It's on TV, and just seeing like bits and pieces of it here and there. And I remember like not really liking it that much. Oh my god, when I tell you Jaws is like in my top 20 now. Like it is so good. I was like transfixed. I was terrified. Like I was just hooked with Jaws yesterday. So anyways, just showing a little newfound Jaws love.
Oh, I can't, I can't disagree. I went to see Jaws 3D a couple nights ago actually as well. Uh,
3D?
Yeah, we didn't
yeah,
we didn't have a like I said, we're traveling right now, so we didn't have the 3D
There was a
oh,
opportunity.
3D opportunity?
Yes, I
Oh my
know.
and
gosh.
it's interesting because obviously Jaws is never designed to be a 3D movie, but it
No.
kind of works. And I got the Avatar remaster and the Way of Water trailer in 3D before the film, which is nice.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
Um,
that is cool.
yeah, and I love this idea of like low budget, sort of almost verging on horror films that we kind of get with Jaws and Terminator, because there is this sort of like menace of like what looms in Jaws. It's the shark. In Terminator, it's the future and Skynet. And I feel like it kind of works out to compare the two films to be like, oh yeah, like this is how two of the biggest filmmakers, like blockbuster filmmakers, started on these lower budgets.
I also think it's just like a storytelling technique that you kind of fall into when you have no money, but is really effective, which is limiting the amount that you can do the crazy stuff, whether that's some of the crazy T-1000 stuff in Terminator or showing the shark in Jaws, or how much do you actually see Godzilla in some of the best Godzilla films? You know, like um, it's making that like menace or whatever you want, whatever that interesting object, it makes it so much more interesting because you're limited by like how much um you actually get to see, like the scene in this film when he's messing with his eye. He's like replacing
I
his
did
eye.
not watch this
And you
scene.
get and you get the robot eye for the first time. Like, that's really not that big of a deal, but it is like one of like the more interesting parts of that character, because it's like one of the first times that you go like, oh my god, he is a robot, he doesn't care about eyes, those don't matter to him. Like, this is all prosthetics for the machine and stuff. That is really just a 1 minute bit with some pretty simple makeup stuff. But it's like one of the more memorable parts of the movie.
Yeah. Is there like for you, is that like one of the most standout moments that you always think of immediately with Terminator?
Gosh, I love this movie so much. It's like one of my favorite movies. Um, I have a huge list. I would say that's up there. I would say that's up there. I think just like one of the best parts about like having Arnold play that part is because he's such a huge guy and he's got the interesting accent. He just seems like this otherworldly thing. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
he's this bodybuilder that doesn't talk the way that we talk. He seems like he's sort of this out of this world thing, and so like I just like I love a lot of the parts where like he's talking and like he's interacting with people. I love the moment where he starts going through the phone book and he's killing all the Sarah Connors, you know. Um, there's a very famous line that I won't say right now that he repeats back to somebody. Like anytime he's like reacting with the humans, I think I just love that fish out of water stuff.
I think for me, the thing that just comes front of mind is his butt. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you're
No,
not wrong.
no, I mean, this was my first time seeing Terminator. I knew that Patrick really loved this movie. It was just something that I didn't watch as a kid, and I had not, on my own will, gone and watched it. So I was really excited to be filling in this gap in like my film resume. And I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I do think like definitely the killing of the Sarah Connors and just like going through the phone book is so iconic. But I also think that I just love um like I don't know, am I allowed to like spoil, like jump ahead?
I don't know. It's
Oh,
his
if you
show.
want to, go for it.
I just feel like the last moments of like trying to kill the machine are like so freaking cool. Like the fact that it keeps coming back and keeps coming back and keeps coming back is so haunting. And it's just like it's I mean it's so badass. I
Oh,
ate that up.
yeah, absolutely. Like those sort of final scenes, like the final battle, you could say, in the factory, and it's just taking, it's getting like it's really taken a lot of blows, and it's still coming after her. It's really impressive, and it's not until like she gets it like stuck in the compressor, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that, I'm gonna be kind of like a lame like horror movie person here for a second. I'm not a huge like Michael Myers, like traditional monster like Halloween person. And so when I am watching those movies, sometimes I'm like, he's literally been stabbed 10 times. Like, I don't care. Like, why is he not dead? And it's like, oh, well, because he's not like because he's otherworldly. And it's like, first of all, I don't care. Like I have not been convinced on that. It's not cryptic enough for me. But because these are robots, that shit was so scary of just like no, like all bets are off. You don't know how many things this machine can do because it is a literal machine. And I thought there was just something so haunting about that.
I think as well, when you think of it as with Terminator, because it's such a physical machine, like you see the machinery in it, and I think that's where we come, come back to the bit where he's pulling out the eye. You can see a physical, tangible, like how powerful it is, and I think it's maybe lost a little bit in T2 because of obviously the T1000's like got that liquid form, so it doesn't have almost like the same physical presence. Obviously, they're aiming for something a little bit different, but yeah, the whole presence of Arnie as a like man mountain is just something else, and it does honestly make it that more terrifying. And I think Halloween's such an interesting one to compare it to because it's such an obvious influence on the film as well.
Yeah, I think that like Arnold is at his best when he's being like a total weirdo, like when he's doing Conan the Barbarian, or when he's being the T-100. Like I think I think it's kind of foolish of us to be like, oh yeah, Arnold is a real person. Let's put him in Jingle All the Way, where
Yeah,
he's just a dad.
I was literally just about to say Jingle All the Way. So I think that Jingle All the Way might have been my first Schwarzenegger movie. I don't think I've seen any others. We watched it last Christmas, and this was one of Patrick's favorite Christmas movies as a kid. So he has like this level of nostalgia attached to it. I was obviously coming at it from just like an outsider, and I was just like so unsold. I was just like, what? I was like, this is just like a subpar movie with a weird ass protagonist. Like what about this hometown man is believable? So I do think he really just like totally took advantage of this opportunity and nailed it.
Yeah,
It's
there's
so
something
interesting
about
to
like,
think that he was like originally supposed to play the other part.
yeah,
Like,
like how does that
why?
work?
Why? Why?
Like in
Who
my
do you get
mind,
to
I'm
play
just like,
opposite him as a robot?
yeah, well, because I'm sure you guys have heard who was meant to play the Terminator before Arnie, right?
There's a whole list. There's like a dozen guys that were on the list
Well, I mean,
before him.
the most awkward one is OJ Simpson,
Right, of course. Of course.
which I think is like if you compare that it's an entirely different film,
Yeah, think about a
obviously,
movie where
anyway.
O.J. Simpson is the Terminator
Yeah.
God.
and Arnold is is Kyle.
But then if Arnold's protecting you, I'm not worried. I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
cool,
exactly. I
good."
would be like, okay.
You know what? That kind of brings us nicely on to talk about Michael Biehn and his role in it. And he's like such a odd character in this because he is like the most panicked man I've ever seen in my life. Like
Yeah.
he comes back, he's so frantic. There's no calmness about him. He's like, no, this is it. This is we're just gonna keep running. And I kind of love that he's not coming in with this like calm attitude, which you'd kind of hope someone looking to protect you would be. He's just coming in and be like, nope, nope, this is not good. Let's get out of here.
He gets saddled with having to give all of the exposition in the movie. I mean, like, largely because like
Arnold can barely talk.
well that but the budgetary restrictions, like they have to do a lot of tell don't show, and so there were like three different moments where he like sits her down and he, he just like explains what's going on. And yeah, he has that energy, like somehow he pulls it off. Like it's not a lot of times when movies have to like stop and tell you what's happening, it's painful. But he does a good job and pulls it off.
When you're working with someone like Linda Hamilton, she makes it very easy though. Her as Sarah Connor is like perfect. This sort of like she is sort of like thrust into this awful horror movie without a chance to even consider why this is all happening, and it's so interesting to see how well she develops as well from Terminator 2 T2, and I think that development is all because of how good the the character work in Terminator is as well. Like it's believable that she goes from the character she's played in Terminator 2 T2.
There's there's something that I cannot stand in, I don't know, movies with a crazy premise where someone comes back from the future or something, where they have to spend half the movie like trying to convince the person that they've gone back to see that they're telling the truth. And that just gets so frustrating and like really old because we know that it's the truth as the audience member, and it definitely gets old after a while, and also just like gets in the way of like the fun. And this obviously she's like, what the hell are you talking about? But after a while she's just like, all right, sure. Like
Well,
she's convinced, and then they get to have the rest of the great movie.
Well, the stakes are so high instantly. So many movies, like you said, just have this like slow build, slow build, slow build. And there's like a turning point, like this moment, this life or death, this whatever, that like makes them have to believe this revelation. But because the stakes are so high from the get go, and he is just brutally murdering these women and also just terrorizing a town, like she doesn't get the luxury of getting to question him too much. Like she might have her reservations and her hesitations, but at the end of the day, she's way better with him than on her own, so she just kind of has to trust it. And I was actually also going to say that, Patrick, because yeah, you just get to jump into the fun so much sooner, so much, jump into the action. And that's, clearly this movie's sweet spot. So, and, I'm not going to say that, the two of them didn't have great chemistry, but like, I think the action is like what sold them. I don't think that their relationship, if you just stripped away all of the fun, action, and like craziness, would hold up as well as it does with all the action and craziness. So I'm glad that that is the way that the movie went.
So that's one thing I think is interesting, especially to talk about with Terminator. Do you do you guys believe, yeah, that relationship between the two of those actors?
So Patrick and I were actually just talking about this on Better Than Bad with The Prestige. I am like scarily good at like predicting things that are going to happen in movies. I don't try, which makes me sound boastful. I actually like, it's not something that I like to do because it like ruins it, but I always just like pick up on the most random stuff. And so for me, I hate to be that person, but it was just like very predictable that that was going to be her baby daddy. And so I just kept like waiting for it to pan out. So that I feel like took away from it a little bit. Yeah, I don't know.
I have an interesting backstory with this.
I was gonna introduce this backstory, but I was like, I don't want Patrick to get mad at me, so please go ahead.
So I think I first saw this when I was like 8 years old, 10 years old. I don't know, like perfect little boy, Terminator is awesome age. And that was like my mom's thought process when she put it on. Like, oh, um, obviously she forgot some parts of it. She was like, oh, this movie is perfect for a 9-year-old boy.
Cool, bang bang, pew pew.
Exactly. Let me put it on, and we watched it. And then when the movie was over, I had to ask her like to explain the ending. Like I didn't, I didn't understand like why the epilogue was significant,
Why is there a baby in her belly?
or like what. And she didn't exactly give me the full rundown at that exact moment.
But this clued him into the birds and the bees.
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, this was the beginning of my.
What a like unbelievable story. I
You
told
know what?
Patrick one day when we have kids, like he has to sit down and watch a Terminator with him. Like we have to create this chaotic tradition.
Oh, that is like the most like I don't know if it's like it's kind of sweet, but at the same time, it's also quite twisted.
It's bizarre.
It's all I don't know, it's way cooler than my story. Mine's pretty boring.
Well, I mean, it's also it's like I said, I didn't get the full rundown, and it wasn't until I rewatched Terminator a couple years ago, and I saw that scene again that I was like, oh, like it all kind of clicked for me. I guess it had been a long journey in my mind, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, this was like the beginning of my like, oh, that one scene. That's how she has a baby now.
Mm. You know what? I think Terminator is such an interesting one because I actually remember when I must have been in primary school, so but like 8, 9, 10, something like that. And I remember someone at my age had seen Terminator, and they were like, "Oh, it's so cool! We're gonna like play pretend Terminator in school." And I was like, I asked my parents, and they were like, "No, you were never watching that film. not
That
not
was
for a
me.
good
I
few
was the kid that
years."
wanted to play Terminator at
Yeah.
school.
Patrick doesn't have a mom. He has a cool mom.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, see, you had the cool mum. But it's kind of interesting because I feel like Terminator has that sort of like aura about it, where just the image of it is so drilled into people's minds and being like, "Oh man, that is cool!" Like, wow, I just want to see what's going on there.
Yeah, and it is also like gotten to the point where, I mean, gosh, what are there 6 or 7 of these movies now? And there was a TV show. Like it hasn't gone anywhere, you know. Um, every couple years they make another movie, and it kind of sort of revives. People go out and they rewatch the first one, which makes me very happy. And then they see the new one, which probably inevitably stinks. But like, yeah, it's sort of just become one of those like cultural, like it's just never going to go away kind of deals.
Yeah, and we see that every so often. I feel like, yeah, Terminator is like the best example of it. Of they just can't figure out how to do the formula again. I will
Right.
argue the Terminator TV series, Sarah Connor Chronicles, was actually quite good. I quite enjoyed that. It had Lena Headey in it. I think she was playing Sarah Connor in it.
I've
She
been
was
like looking for a recommendation. Like I haven't been able to convince myself to watch it, because some of the new ones have been so bad. Um, but yeah, if you like it, I might have to check it out.
I would argue it's probably the best version of what you can do with a Terminator film post T2, really.
All right, interesting.
Because well, the problem is that everything post T2 has like tried to repeat itself again, and they haven't tried to do anything fresh. And you know what? It's made me think with what they did this year with Prey for the Predator franchise. Hey, look, you got a whole other time travel franchise here that can just go to any time period. Why don't
Right,
they go
right.
further back to kill like a Sarah Connor ancestor?
Yeah,
There
it
you
doesn't
go.
have to
That's your new
be
one.
like all the same story. That's such a great point, and that's such a
Why
great
we
comparison.
always go for Sarah Connor? Go for Sarah Connor's parents.
That's such a good idea. Yeah, like I'm totally with you. Like, Prey's such a good example. Like it could literally happen anywhere. But yeah, they just keep rehashing the same story that they already got right. I would say the first time. Many people would say the second time. Yeah, that's wow. I never thought about it like that, but you're totally right.
I
It's the
unfortunately have not seen T2, so that's why I'm kind of taking the back burner to this conversation. We anticipated watching it together
Well,
for this movie, but
I decided not to show it to her because I didn't want her to
get confused.
Well, not that. I was gonna be nicer about it. I wanted you to think of this as its own standalone thing, and so many people think of it like we're talking about as a franchise or
Yeah.
as the the sequel's better kind of deal.
Yeah, there aren't many, I feel like, people who have not seen the Terminator. I'm in a very small group. So it is cool to like and I will say, like, I am Patrick is being kind and friendly, but I am horrible with like getting things mixed up, especially if it's something I'm not incredibly familiar with. I just have like, we watch so many things for so many things, and I just will like it will just get jumbled in my brain. So but yeah, this is making me want to watch it now. So I think it's something that we're gonna have to visit.
She also, and I'm going to be very, I'm going to dance around this here because she's the only person on the planet that doesn't know about the role reversal in the second movie.
Ooh, you know
Yeah,
what? I cannot wait to hear your
I
thoughts
I
know.
about.
I'll have to DM you.
I know. And so like I purposefully have like not been talking about it because I think even they even gave it away like in the original marketing. Like it was not a twist for anybody, right?
But it will be for
It
me.
will be for her. So that's awesome.
Oh, you know what? That is so exciting. I've constantly have to talk about this moment from T2, um, because because it's always comes up, and it's the fact that that marketing was so bad for the film, in that it spoiled it immediately
It
for
could be like
anyone.
the greatest twist in the history of cinema, and
Yeah,
they instead decided to like build their entire marketing campaign around it, which I understand you want to sell tickets. Um, but
Would people have just gone and seen it anyways because the Terminator was successful? Like,
yeah, because Terminator is awesome. Yeah, probably. When we finished the first one, I was like, "Do you know anything about T2?" And she was like, "Arnold's in it, right?" And I was like, "Okay, don't look anything up, please."
I want to sort of discuss as well, like what other sort of big moments from the film did you like get really drawn into? Obviously, obviously, Patrick, you've seen it a lot of times. I'm
Yeah.
guessing, so there must be always moments that you're like, I can't wait to revisit this again.
Gosh, the whole thing. I like all the stuff in the police station. I think that's really fun. I like when Kyle's just yelling at them about all of the like he's trying to
like the
convince them.
interrogation.
Yeah, the interrogation. Thank you. And you noticed that great line that was like, "I could make millions off of this guy. I never want him to stop talking," or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I'm sure I totally screwed it up, but that was really funny. But then when Arnold comes in and just wipes the place out, and of course it's got the iconic line. Yeah, that's a great moment.
This is so like, I don't know, fashionista of me. I loved the like clothing in the film and I loved when Arnold and oh gosh, what's the other guy's name, the actor who plays him? I'm sorry.
Michael Bean.
Michael Bean, thank you. I don't know why I was thinking Connor. I was thinking Sarah Connor. I don't know why. But when Arnold and Michael are like finding clothes and stuff,
It's so
I don't know. Something about that is so funny to me. I also just like love the clothes that they pick. Like it's just like now become so iconic. And then I also really liked I really liked the epilogue. I don't know. Like even though I predicted it and stuff, it is like cool to see like the photograph happen and to see like a new Sarah Connor that now is like ready to take this on, like what when we if we think about this like logistically for a second and like let's pretend this isn't sci-fi. How insane would it be for someone to come to you and be like your unborn child that you don't know the father to is going to like save the world,
lead the
basically? Yeah, yeah, lead the
resistance.
resistance. And like how do you cope with that? And so the fact that like we said, she just jumped into it. She kind of had to trust Michael, Bean's character, but like, and we have all these great moments because of that. But then to see her in the epilogue, like riding in her cool ass Jeep, wearing her cool ass outfit, getting a cool ass Polaroid taken of her that matches the one that we've seen the whole film, like it's just badass. Like I don't know what to say other than it's just so cool.
You're really gonna like the sequel.
Okay, cool, great.
I do want to point out one of my favorite scenes is the introduction of Arnold through the travel. How are we feeling about the time travel anyway? Are we thinking it's like legitimate? Hey, look, that makes sense, or is it like let's just hold on and hope it makes sense by the end?
Like that's such an interesting. Whichever Avengers it was that broke the box office.
Endgame.
Endgame. Thank you. Um, there's this moment in Endgame where they go like, time travel doesn't make sense in any movie. If you've seen a movie and you've seen time travel, that's not how it works. And then they go on to explain their equally stupid explanation of how time travel works,
Yep, absolutely.
and changes absolutely nothing about like
Is that the movie that I've seen?
yes.
I have very iconically only seen like 5 Marvel movies ever. One of them, it's like Iron Man 3, Black Panther, the Benedict Cumberbatch one that just came out, Endgame, and what else have I seen?
It's like it.
That's like
Oh, Spider-Man
and
No Way Home.
Spider-Man No Way Home. I've like only seen sequels to the Marvel franchise, and I don't know, something about that is so funny to me.
Yeah, so like ever since I've seen that movie, like I don't think about it too much. Like if you think about
You will ruin movies for
yeah, if
yourself.
you think about the Bill and Ted time travel for more than like 10 seconds, your brain will explode and it'll completely ruin the point
But
of
if
Bill
you
and Ted.
don't think about it, you're gonna go, "Damn, this movie rocks."
Exactly. And that's what I do with Terminator.
I think it really depends on how much they try to explain it to you.
That's
Because
true.
a lot of films will just be like, "Hey, we traveled through time. This is how it works. Let's not talk about it anymore." And
Yeah,
then there's some
honestly,
film-
the more ambiguous they are with it, the better. Like, because then at least the holes could be filled in correctly by someone, just not them, you know? Like, I feel like if they spend all this, exposition just like deeply explaining the quantum physics and whatever, it's like you are shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, like it just pulls up so many other issues. What I wanted to mention was that I love Arnold's introduction. I think it's like iconic beyond belief. Him just showing up butt naked in this in the
It's like
street.
one of the alternate posters is like him in that
Yeah,
like crouch.
yeah, just
That
hanging
like
there.
iconography
I
like
feel like
instantly hit.
am I wrong? Do you even see the shadow of his?
Oh, absolutely, you
Okay,
do.
right? I was like, or did I make that up?
No, we watched it.
Nah,
We made sure to watch it in 4K so you can see his
Yes,
dingaling.
yes.
yeah. James Cameron has the habit of like if something's hanging there, he won't hide it.
Listen, like I said, I respect him as a filmmaker. Good for him. I will not say anything about it.
But I love his interaction with the punks, which includes which
Yes.
includes Bill Paxton.
Just baby Bill Paxton like acting his
Look,
ass off for 10 seconds.
anytime Bill Paxton appears in anything, I am happy, and this is like one of my favorite moments because it's just so random.
Yeah, it's definitely like this like weird Easter egg in the movie. Like I feel like he could almost be like a trivia question or something.
Well, yeah, that's the one that always comes up, which is Bill Paxton's one of the only people to have been killed by a Terminator, an alien, and a Predator.
Oh right, that's right. I've heard that before. That's right.
So that's a pretty impressive
That's the
record to hold. I'll be
trifecta.
honest.
That's the triple
Yeah,
crown.
that's it. Yeah, like I don't think many people can claim that. So good for him. I'm always impressed. So yeah, is there any other moments that you want to bring up?
I love the nightclub.
Yes.
Tech noir. That whole sequence, like the slow motion. She meets Kyle for the first time. I love when she's like, I'm at
Yeah.
1411 blah 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 Avenue, and they're like, oh, I know that nightclub.
I was no,
To the
I was
cops.
well that I was, there are some movies, there's obviously the trope, the dumb blonde gets killed first, gives up information they shouldn't too easily, they trip and fall. Like there is this trope that exists of people just volunteering information or doing something that ends in them getting killed. And there's something so earnest about Sarah's mistake in like she does not know that he's intercepting the call. Like she's trying to save her life. She's not doing something stupid. She is doing something that she thinks can save her. And I think there's just something so, like I said, like earnest about like that attempt on her end that it doesn't come across tropey. It just comes across like gut wrenching of just like, oh no, like this poor girl, like she, like what's gonna happen next, basically. So yeah, I also really love that scene, and also like the added like complete stress of Michael Biehn just like low-key stalking her and being like, I literally don't know what to think right now. I'm scared for my life.
Yeah, that is like one of those moments. I think the slow motion you mentioned is really good. I'm not a huge fan of using slow motion, but that is one of the ways to do it, is for that, just that extra tension building.
Yeah, it's very effective here. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I think we've covered like a lot of the lot of the film. This is the thing. It's actually a very quick film. I didn't realize quite how quick it flies by. And I don't know if that's because I've watched T2 quite recently as well, and that is a bit longer. But yeah, Terminator just speeds by. It's non-stop.
It's also like it helps that it's like this movie's like a greatest hits albums of awesome scenes. You
Mm.
know, like there really is no dud. There really isn't much filler. I mean, there's like a couple things that you could argue for being like a little too extended. But otherwise, it's just like banger after banger after
Yeah.
banger.
They come, they blow up, they kick ass, and it's over. Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
moves pretty quickly.
Exactly.
I mean, look, I won't argue ever with having action films like that. That's kind of what I
No,
dream
Patrick
of,
and I
having more
hate
modern ones like
too
that.
long movies.
There's like, and that's one of my things with T2 is there's a lot of like deliberation. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of laying down the blueprint of how the rest of the movie's gonna go. And this is just like not like this at all. It's just like two guys who can save her first or kill her first. The end. Um, and I think that that's just really effective. And part of that's probably one of those budgetary things again. They didn't have time to mess
Yeah,
around.
maybe more films should have smaller budgets.
Yeah.
But specifically a time crunch budget. Like, I don't know. Like, all of their cameras just only have so much space on them or film. Like, we just really, I swear to God, the movies nowadays just need to get like 45
You
minutes
excited
cut
for
from all of them.
Avatar: The Way of Water?
No, well, at least I don't know. Like, yes, I'm not saying that even great films are not subject to it. Like Jaws last night. Jaws kicks ass. Jaws is so good. I was like on the edge of my seat, literally. And that last hour, I
It's
mean,
way too long.
it's way too long. They spend way too much time on the boat. I'd rather have less time on the boat and then some sort of resolution at the end, seeing what life is like, on Amity after that. So like, even great films fall victim to that. I'm not saying that they don't. But yeah, I mean, I hate a
Pacing.
ってthat's too
Very
long.
effective pacing.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting to think about as well. Like we've been talking about like Avatar and comparison to Terminator. Avatar's a long movie, and there is a lot of like extra sort of like padding on it. But I think it is because Cameron's taking these big swings to be like, hey, look, I'm creating this whole other world. You're kind of gonna have to sit around and enjoy it for a bit because I've spent so much time on it.
But I do feel like Avatar, like, at least can get away with that in the sense of like there is so much to see.
It's like very contemplative about like what's going on.
Like, don't get me wrong, I am like a huge Wes Anderson stan. So I'm not going to say a bad thing about Wes Anderson's movies, but if you were a person, Patrick, who isn't a huge Wes Anderson fan, at least when you watch a movie that is like visually magnificent, you have something to look at if you're not like uber invested in what's going on screen. Avatar is one of those movies. Maybe you zone out when, they're doing something that doesn't really matter to the plot or whatever, but you have so much to look at and take in that, like, I at least appreciate that. There was nothing for me to watch on Jaws other than, the water around them and the boat. Like, there's, you can't do much there. So I just, yeah, I appreciate the commitment there, and there's always something to see. And
Yeah, I think that's something that's going to be something to look forward to for the new one as well. At least in terms of you getting back into that world again, there's going to be a lot of visual interest, especially with this underwater. They're doing a lot of underwater shooting, which is crazy to me. Like Kate Winslet's holding her breath for 7 minutes. That's mental.
I think there's also like all right, Cameron, put your money where your mouth is kind of deal. Like not that I'm doubting him, I'm definitely not, but they pushed this movie off like 7 times because he was like, it literally could never be ready with the technology that we have. And now it's like, all right, well, you had it, so I gotta see it. I gotta see like why you needed to wait. I'm really excited to like see that justification. I think it'll be fun.
Is there any final thoughts from you guys?
I don't think so. I really enjoyed watching Terminator. I'm, like I said, glad that it's something that I've checked off my like film must-see list. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm really excited to watch T2 now. It sounds like from what you guys are saying, I'm really gonna like it, so that's really exciting. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having us on.
I have one more thing I want to add. which is Universal Studios in Hollywood, used to have a Terminator 2 like half show, half experience 3D slash live action thing that was so awesome, and it was the best part of Universal Studios. And now it's like the Minion ride or something stupid. And I
So something equally as awesome.
and I just want to say rest in peace to the T2 show at Universal Studios because that was a banger.
I'll say the same for T2 at Florida, which got replaced with the Bourne's Stuntacular.
Oh God.
But which, to be fair, I've seen the Bourne one and it's pretty good as well. So
Oh, okay.
maybe it's not the worst loss. It's certainly not a Minions level downgrade.
Okay, whoa. Have you seen the new Minions movie? Because that shit is good. That shit is objectively good. Did you like it? And if you say no, you're lying on me right now.
Look,
that movie is good.
I watched the whole movie and it was the trailer. It was the trailer.
Okay.
Maybe it's because of look. I think it's because of COVID delays that we ended up with like 4 Minions trailers. At which point I could piece all the trailers together and have the whole movie.
I'm not saying that I am a Minions apologist. I'm just saying that listen, I saw Minions when it first came out. What is this one called? That just came out?
The Rise of
Gru.
The Rise of Gru.
How could you forget?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If Mercury is in retrograde, Gru is rising. A lot happening these days. Gru, he rose. He rose to the occasion. Like, what can I say? Steve Carell kills it as Baby Gru. The Minions are so funny. I love the way they talk. I liked it way more than I should have.
I won't lie, I do enjoy Minions films and Despicable Me series. I think they're actually a lot better than people give them credit for.
Yeah, I think that they are like, it's funny because I used to teach kindergarten and I think about like actually showing those movies to a kindergartner and thinking to myself like that is like brain rot level, like there's just literally no substance there. But watching them as an adult where my brain is fully formed, 3 months from now it'll be fully formed when I turn 25. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, cool. It's just a cool movie. I don't know what kids have to take away with it, but I had plenty.
Okay, the point is the T2 thing at Universal Studios was awesome, and it got replaced by, I double checked, it was Despicable Me, Minions Mayhem. All right, and it just ain't the same.
Fair enough.
It's a whole different experience, you know. So yeah, rest in peace, T2 at Universal all around.
But I welcome the rise of Gru worldwide.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for coming on and talking Terminator.
Thank you.
It's kind of fun looking back and comparing like Terminator to Avatar. Like it's been a long journey for Cameron.
Yes.
That was like I like that you've been going back and you've been doing these retrospective episodes, and so I'm happy that we could be a part of one.
So yes, where can people find you guys?
So you can find our shows mainly on Twitter at Vonathon on Twitter. That's the Vince Vonathon without the Vince. Also, our other show, Y2 Kids, is at Y2 Kids Pod. And you can also find our website, featurepresentationvideo.com. We have our podcast there, our columns there, all that kind of fun stuff.
All of our socials expanded from Twitter.
Yeah, everything you want. Really, that's the main hub. You go to the website and you can find it all there.
Yeah,
amazing.
You can find me personally online. You can find me on Letterboxd at Taylor Malone, and then you can find me on Twitter at Mailertalone.
Yeah, I'm Patrick J. Regal. Everywhere you find people online, but yeah, go to the website. That's where all the stuff is.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Hope you have a great day. Goodbye.